Hey everybody, welcome to the College Curious podcast. My name is Navya and I'm a rising junior. Today I'm here with College Admission Officer Miss Nicole Shannon from our Carnegie Mellon University. Miss Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today. It means so much to me and the students that I'm trying to help. Could I please request you to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Nicole Shannon. I'm an associate director of admission here at Carnegie Mellon, which is located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, great. Okay, so just to give a little bit of background as to why this initiative was started in the first place, I was personally motivated because the college admissions process seems daunting, and when surveying high school upperclassmen, majority of the students agreed with me. So this is my sincere effort to get real high school students real answers from real experts like Miss Nicole Shannon herself. So welcome to the podcast. So before we start, Miss Shannon, let's start off with a little bit of an icebreaker. All right. So would you rather have to explain what test optional means 50 times in one day, or explain what FAFSA is to 50 families in one night?
Oh, good question. I mean, I would rather explain what the FAFSA is because that obviously provides more students access to higher education and to being able to fund their higher education.
Perfect. Love that answer. Okay, so just talking about like the application in general, I understand that the transition to from middle school to high school is often like kind of hard and it's sometimes rough for students. So when it comes to ninth grade and 10th grade, they don't really do that much, you know. It's just like the AP exams are not the best, classes are not the best for them. And then junior year comes along and they're like, okay, I have to lock in. I have my SAT, I have my AP exams, teacher recommendations, and all of that stuff. So, and they start beginning to build their profile then. So, when is it considered too late to begin building your profile? Like all over the internet, there are videos that encourage junior and senior students that it isn't too late. But what is your opinion?
I think it depends a lot on the kinds of colleges that you are looking at. If you're looking at a selective or, just popular, like not to use such a like flippant term, but like popular college, I'm thinking of like schools in California, schools in New York City. Like if you're applying to schools that are have a reputation for just a lot of applications, I guess I would say. Definitely that's something you want to plan a little bit for, but I mean, truly, if your goal is to get into a great college, there are right fit colleges for students all over the place that aren't very selective or that have different requirements or timelines or deadlines for students that can really accommodate any type of student. So, I think my general advice is, you should be doing the bulk of your research and planning in the summer before your junior year and then into your junior year. But I mean, I give that advice knowing that as a first generation college student, I didn't start my college search until August of my senior year. And I
Oh,
ended up at a lovely, perfect, small liberal arts college that gave me everything and more that I could have hoped for. But if you are looking at some of these schools like Carnegie Mellon, for example, unfortunately or fortunately, you do have to do a little bit of planning maybe before, your senior year to make sure that it's going to be a right fit and that you'll have everything you need, to submit your application.
yeah, definitely. I think a lot of students they tend to start like during junior summer or senior summer and senior year, they start scrambling around. They're like, okay, I don't have any clubs, I don't have any internships like on my resume. And that oftentimes I just see that like really hurt a lot of students. So I guess would you say like the general advice is also just to like start like during your freshman year, more like in terms like I know a lot of students they start like honestly, they start in middle school. Like they start building their profile from middle school. And I kind of see it. I'm like, okay, maybe this is a little bit of an overreach. And I'm like, I never did that. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, a couple things. I think number one, clubs and organizations aren't the only way to build a profile.
Hmm.
Um, I know one of the questions you sent me ahead of time had something to do too with like community service hours. So like, your activities list, your profile, what it is that you've accomplished throughout high school doesn't need to be I volunteered X hours, I was in this club and I was captain of the soccer team. Like there are so many other things that you do and ways that you spend your time that are valuable to colleges that might not fit that like, A, B, or C model.
Hmm.
Some of the things that I'm thinking about that a lot of students experience, especially, earlier in their high school career, is, maybe you don't have a ride to and from activities. Maybe, you're the oldest sibling and your parents are working and they can't take you to a 7 p.m. club meeting. They can't take you to, a nighttime activity outside of school. So, those are things that we really consider while we're looking at applications, that and so much more. So I think almost reframing that like profile question as to like how do you spend your time and like what brings you value, because it doesn't necessarily need to be those more obvious like list items. It can be I've definitely seen students write on their application like family responsibilities. I spend 3 hours a day, babysitting my younger siblings and helping them with homework. I am also responsible for setting the table. I'm responsible for doing the dishes after dinner. My family and I, I've even seen students get so detailed as to say like, and then every night at 9 p.m., my entire family sits down and we watch the like local news together, and that's like our time as a family. Like things like that are also very valuable pieces of who you are as a person. I think it is important to be involved and to be, a functioning member of whatever society it is that you're a part of, whether that be your high school or your community. Some students are artists, some students are self-studiers, self-teachers, tutors, things like that. A lot of students now are able to have like entire careers or personas online that, have nothing to do with or everything to do with what it is they want to study in college. So I think we're just in a place now, maybe where we're looking at those kinds of clubs, activities, more concrete things differently. And students are able to spend their time doing a lot of different things that might not look like those classic clubs or organizations that might have been on a college application, 5, 10, 15 years ago. COVID changed a lot of that, but I think too, just, the fact that people are online a lot more and doing different things and spending their time differently has a little bit to do with that as well. So I know I'm yapping now, so I'll stop. But did
Don't
that answer the
worry.
question?
No, that did. And I think like this is a recurring thing that I've seen in like so many of my podcasts where like a lot of students like they really struggle like a lot of students they really have a lot of familial responsibilities like taking care of a sibling or taking care of an older family member and they really worry like okay, is this gonna like interject into my college applications, like will this stop me from getting into like the best college? But it really won't. It actually shows more in your profile, and I think this is something that an idea that keeps occurring in all my podcasts. So thank you. You were not yapping, don't worry. Yeah, and you mentioned that like the volunteer hour question, and this is a question that I think really pertains to my area. A lot of students they really try to rank up their or rack up their volunteer hours, like trying to get to the 500, 1,000 mark. Does it really make a difference at all in college applications?
I mean, it definitely can. I don't want to speak for all colleges because, some schools, that is what they're looking for. They're looking for experience in the community and in your society. But like, I mean, I'll speak for myself as someone who reads applications. I am very rarely like truly sitting, never, never. I shouldn't even say rarely. I have never in my life gone through and counted like, oh my gosh, you have, X amount this year and X amount that year. That totals this much, volunteer hours. Like I think it's great when students put that on their application and we're able to quantify, the volunteer experience that they've had. But really, like I said, I just want to see that you're spending your time doing things that matter to you. So if it's that you volunteer at a soup kitchen on holidays only, like that's still valuable than if you're doing something that's like all year round, all the time. So I think it really just comes down to with your activities list, like how do you spend your time and how can you almost translate that, or I guess maybe that's more my job. Like, how can I translate how you spend your time currently into how you may spend your time once you get to CMU? And hopefully you'll be, a functioning member of our society as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think honestly, when it comes to like volunteer hours, I honestly don't know how people submit these hours. Do they just say like, okay, I've done 500 hours in total, or I've done like 100 hours here, 100 hours there? But From on my perspective, I think that when it comes to these hours, they should really be about something that pertains to what you're doing. If you're in the computer science field, do you really want to be reading books to kids instead of, teaching kids how to make apps? Like I'm not sure like what the weightage is there, but would that make a difference in how you spend your time pertaining to your field?
Yeah, I think what we at CMU advise students to do is to genuinely spend your time doing what you like. So we have those students who apply for computer science and they've been teaching coding to students since they were 6 years old. They're building after school programs alongside, high school officials, making sure that, coding is available to young kids, whatever, like doing the most amazing things within that field. But then we do have students who are applying to computer science and all of their volunteer time is, reading books to children or maybe volunteering at like the local zoo and teaching classes there or something like kind of out of the box. I think when I see that rather than the first, I just think like, wow, this is like a well-rounded student. When I see the other, I see like, wow, this person's all in on this one subject or topic. And both are very valuable for different reasons. So I wouldn't ever discourage a student from applying to a specific topic because they don't have any extracurricular experience in that topic, um, within reason, um, because there are other parts of the application that can be valuable ways to make sure a student would be successful in that area, if that makes sense.
No, that does, and I thank you for that. And on the extracurricular topic, internships, we all know them, and it's really a love and hate relationship. There's no in between. So how can a student grab an internship for the summer? I understand that like a lot of students in the May time frame, you just finished your AP exams, you're all relaxed, and then you realize you don't have anything to do for the summer. You don't have an agenda. So how can students plan for that? What's a roadmap that we can give students in order to get an internship?
That's a good question. And I don't know if I necessarily am the best person to ask, but I'll do my best. I think just like we want to see that you're spending your summer doing something valuable. Like, again, don't I wouldn't like rank or make a list of like, well, this is more valuable than this experience. Like whatever, however you spend your time is valuable. I think even more than internships, we probably see things um, like jobs or job shadows over the summer, some research projects over the summer, or like participation in summer programs at different colleges or universities. We see a lot of like part-time jobs and experiences like that too. So, to be honest with you, like internships aren't one of the like number one things that I see on a student's application. And I don't know too much about how young kids get those kinds of opportunities. I will say like research is one thing I see a little bit of that students are like, yeah, I just, kind of cold emailed professors at a local university to me and was able to get connected or, was able to talk to different people in my high school to get connected. Um, Summer programs, just researching different colleges and universities that are on your list and seeing if they offer some sort of summer programs. Like some schools, we have some fully funded summer programs. Others can cost, as much as or similar to, a semester in college. So definitely look out for those kinds of things. But like we just want to see that you're doing something with your time that is like developmental. It's not just sitting on the couch scrolling TikTok, which is great too. We're all doing it, right? But I did it, the whole hour commute into work today. We all have time for that, but we just want to see that you're continuing to develop your identity and who you are and what you want to do and who you want to be in college. And if that's an internship, great. That's a very structured way to do that, but I don't know. I feel like I'm dying on the hill today of like whatever you're doing is probably really valuable. Just figure out the best way to tell us about it.
Yeah, and the essays, like how do you tell how do you tell your experiences? How do you tell about your value? Because you have all, like, let's say a student, they have all these great extracurriculars, they've participated in competitions, won competitions, but when
Mhm.
it comes to the essay, it's like so hard to like wrap yourself in a tiny little bow.
Mhm.
So what are some storytelling structures that work well in personal essays? Like what are some storytelling structures that you've seen? I think like many students, including myself, we kind of struggle to find a happy medium between telling our story and tying it back to who we are and how we can help or how we would be a good fit in your school.
Yeah,
So, any tips?
for sure. Oh my gosh, I could probably talk about this alone forever. So please stop me if I start to get too redundant. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of a lot of tips out there for essays, and a lot of the tips out there are good. I think number one, my piece of advice is always just make sure your essay is majority about you. We do get a lot of essays in the profession, not just here at CMU, but it's really easy to tell your story through your parents, through your siblings, through your grandparents, and in your college application. Great. I'm so glad you have amazing siblings, grandparents, parents, but I care about you. You're the one that I want to hear about. So, just as you're doing exactly what you said, telling your story about who you are, just make sure that that is what you're doing and you're not spending a whole essay telling the greatest stories about your grandparents ever to be known. Because we do want to get to know you. The other thing is every school has different requirements. So just, kind of make sure that you're familiar with those and how you can kind of capitalize on the subject area of each essay. So here at CMU, we have the Common App essay, which I'm sure most of you know. It doesn't have a prompt, but there's what, like 10 or 15, maybe that's exaggerating, different prompts available to you. So that truly no harm, no foul. If you want to submit just a general essay or if you want to use one of the prompts, it's all the same to us, whatever you prefer. We do have three supplemental essays too, though. So the first supplemental essay is why do you want to study what you want to study at CMU? The second is what else do you want to get out of your college experience? And the third is just what else do you want us to know about you? So, try not to, unless you really need to elaborate, but try not to talk about maybe those three things in your Common App essay so that you have more material for these three supplemental essays. Do your research. If a college is asking you, why do you want to study X topic at X school? Make sure you know why. Every school does things a little bit differently. So talk to professors, talk to admission officers, talk to current students if you can, talk to your tour guide, read the website, read materials that you find. Really find out if computer science is exactly what you think computer science is at the school that you want to look at. Maybe it's treated a little differently there. So, just things to keep in mind as you're structuring the more like college specific essays. If you want to, for that second essay, talk about any like clubs, organizations, study abroad, research, internships, things like that. Leaf around on the website, leaf around on the college Instagram. There's always posts about, what students are out there doing and where they are and how they're spending their time. So, use all of that for some inspiration. But the essays are definitely like the most colorful part of the application, the place where we get to know you the best. And I always tell students, I don't know if they take my advice or not, but that last question, just like, what else do you want us to know about you? Truly save it for last. Go through your application and like jot down, like, okay, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, and see what's missing. That last essay sometimes is where I find out that a student is like the lead singer in a band on the weekends, or they have like an Etsy shop where they sell curtains that they make, really cool things about students that they don't necessarily think fit into things like their activities list or their essays, but are huge identifiers of who they are and some of the things that I remember the most about some of our applicants. So, I guess to summarize that, just really be aware of the prompts. Know that you're answering the prompts with your own experience, and feel free to really use them as a way to, I don't know, the word embellish is like coming to mind. I know that's more of a negative connotation, but like use the essays to embellish and really like like color up your application and make it more exciting and who you are and just less black and white and boring and things you've already done and accomplished and not that those are boring, but grades are grades, classes are classes, but your essays are something that you can actually like really be creative about. So I don't know. Now I'm chatting too much. Go ahead.
No worries. And I think like I liked your idea of like talking about like, the person who had an Etsy shop or someone who, makes clothes for a living. I think like a lot of students, they have a lot of unconventional creative extracurriculars that they do, like YouTube channels, or they have like an Instagram account with 60K followers. Is that something we would like, let's say like a student who does like they're interested in government and they want their like advocacy. Could they include that in their application as like some, I don't know, commitment initiative? Would that show something in them, or should they save it for like the supplemental essays that show a little hint of them?
I think it's totally up to you. If it's a huge part of your life and you want that to be a part of your application, make it a part of your application. If it's just a little something you do on the side, then feel free to just mention it. But I mean, I've seen the one thing, and this is something that every school is a little different. The one thing we can't do at CMU is click on any links or anything. So I will caution you not to just link your Instagram because we can't click on it. But I have seen students who I'll use your example exactly. So their first, piece of their activities list will say like advocacy work. And then it'll say, I was a volunteer on this campaign. I did community service for X, Y, and Z organization. And I have 60,000 followers on an Instagram account that's dedicated to democratic voices of the youth or whatever, like, so it's not even that you have to limit yourself and saying like, and I'm on social media or like, describing it in whatever way. Like you can kind of put all of those things together in your activities list too if you want to connect them in that way as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that a lot of students struggle with like, do I put this in my application? Do I not? So thank you. That helps a lot of students, the students out there. And in the application, the essay itself, a lot of students they try to avoid over editing their college essays, but end up doing that anyway, and they kind of like lose their real voice. So, and students believe that this college essay is this big thing, which it is, but they believe it needs to be filled with the most technical terms and the utmost jargon. So, what is your opinion on this? What would you say to a student who's struggling to craft their college essay?
Well, that's a really, really, first of all, that's really great insight into the student experience for someone who reads applications. But I think as cheesy as the advice is, like you just have to be yourself. I mean, even on the other side of that advice, like I am myself. I am a woman in my 30s who has been working in higher education for, 10, 15 years. I love my job. I'm a first generation college student, so that informs a lot of what I do too. But I read your applications, me. I'm like sitting there reading, 50, 60 applications a day, and I'm just a normal, hopefully, you think so? Normal girl. And there's about, 15, 20 of us on this floor that I'm in my office right now who do the same thing. So I think hopefully that kind of provides a little perspective on the review process. Like it's a person like me reading your application, like a very personal experience. It's not going through a machine and saying they have these grades, don't even bother. Every application is completely being read by a human being, and it's a human being just like me. We're all pretty normal and silly and crazy and weird in our own ways. So, when you're crafting your essays, especially, remember that you're not writing an essay for a professor at CMU. 9 times out of 10, a professor's probably not ever going to see your application. They'll see you in class, but they probably aren't going to see your application because that's our office that's reviewing them. So, don't write for the highest, quality of academia if that's not natural to you, because it is just someone not now I feel like I'm talking myself down, but it is just someone like me who's reading it. Like I don't have a computer science degree. I don't know anything about Raspberry Pi. I've played with Legos very rarely in my life. So what are some things that you can say that are relatable and that just make you who you are? Because it's just another person on the other side of your application reading it. So don't feel the pressure to, you know, obviously be your most authentic self, be your truest you, but don't feel the pressure to be the smartest or the most articulate person in the world, because we are reading it with the context of you're probably 16, 17, 18 years old. You've had X amount of schooling. Like we know where you're coming from. We know what you're capable of. Don't feel like you have to go above and beyond, but don't feel like you have to be someone who's disingenuous to who you are to like prove a point or write the best essay, if that's
So
helpful.
for the students out there, just don't try to craft this persona when it comes to college applications. Be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Just always be yourself. Your college application is like the one time you have in life to brag about everything you've ever done in like the least egotistical way and put it all in a nice, beautiful package for somebody to read. So like, enjoy that experience too, and enjoy putting your first 16, 17, 18 years of life into this packet and saying like, this is who I am, this is who I become, these are my values, and I can't wait to hopefully bring them to your college someday.
I love that. I love that so much. And and kind of like talking about Carnegie Mellon like specifically, I think like a lot of students, they look at colleges and they like, okay, am I a good fit for this college? They do a campus tour, maybe attend a few college admission sessions, but they don't really know like, okay, will I thrive at this university? So what kind of te student tends to thrive at your university? Is it someone with a lot of values, someone who's deep in academics? What is it?
That's a good question. I think just naturally, because we are the type of school where students apply directly to the school or college within which they hope to study, we naturally just become a school for students who are fairly decided in what it is they want to study. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean that we have absolutely zero undecided students. We definitely have some. But I think it's maybe adversely, it's not necessarily a place for you to go and take a bunch of classes in a bunch of random areas and kind of figure it out as you go along. You're at least going to have to choose like a homeschool or college. Sorry, I can tell there's some noise behind me now. Right on campus, right in the middle of the city, guys. So I think naturally we attract students who um, know what they want to do, kind of have a plan in place, but who are open to collaboration and like interdisciplinary learning. Um, students do, I know I'm getting in the weeds, but students do come here kind of, within one school or college or area of study or major or topic. But then once you're here, you really have access to everything that CMU has to offer. So yeah, you might come in and be like a computer scientist, but you'll have access to everything once you get here. If you want to minor in business or do an additional major in engineering, there's a lot of opportunities for that as well. The second thing I think that we're looking for that it, naturally attracts students to CMU, that's pretty consistent of the students we attract and have here, is that like global citizenship piece. We are just pretty diverse globally here at CMU. We have a number of international students, but then we also have a pretty diverse group of domestic students as well. So we have more students coming from California, Texas, Florida, New York, and honestly some other states too than we do from our home state of Pennsylvania, pretty much consistently year after year. So it's in Pittsburgh, it's in this small city that is, really up and coming. It's educational medical technology hub really in America right now, um but yeah, you have, access to everything that you need here at CMU within your homeschool or college and beyond, and have the opportunity to like experience that global citizenship here on campus and really meet people from around the world and have experiences that you wouldn't get to have at home or at a normal, normal quote unquote college experience. I think our global citizenship is just a huge part of us.
Thank you so much. And for someone who might be like interested in Carnegie Mellon, that actually means a lot because I think like a lot of students, they kind of want to escape their state, their home state, and they want to, go somewhere where they can meet a lot of people. And I think that Carnegie Mellon is just one of the places for that. So thank you so much. And
Sure.
before we end off, I just have one more question. What is one piece of advice that you wish every student knew before applying for college?
Ooh. I mean, maybe honestly, what I said up top is that there is a school, there's 100 perfect schools out there for you. There's a perfect school for you in your home city. There's a perfect school for you in your home state. There's 20,000 perfect schools for you around the world. So, obviously, set your sights on what you want, apply, like I said, now's your chance to brag, to go all out, to set your sights high, to apply to a reach school, try hard, take chances, do new things, but remember that college is college and you're gonna find community and be happy, hopefully, wherever it is you end up. You can make a difference anywhere. You can make a difference at the smallest school, you can make a difference at the biggest school. So, just be open-minded and be open to experiences. Wherever you end up, it's gonna be fun. College is truly the best times of everybody's life. I think unanimously, anyone who's been to college can say that. So, just set your sights on, you've got another year, 2 years before you're there. And once you're there, you're gonna have the best time. So feel free to contact. I know I have my contact information, but feel free to look any counselors up on websites of colleges that you're interested in. Ask us questions, ask me questions, build relationships. We're all here to help you. There's professionals in place to make this process hopefully a little bit easier for you. So, never hesitate to reach out as you have questions and just be yourself.
Thank you so much. And students, know that you're not alone and you have these college counselors like at your hand. So thank you once again, Miss Nicole Shannon, for joining me on this podcast. Truly amazing with you.